The situation is getting worse in Blatten in Switzerland again, and in Lake Blatten. Lake Blatten, that was not a name they used before. We'll get to this tragically, but the mountain continues to crumble. The rocks are coming down again. The danger is not yet over. Latest news is the situation is worsening again in Blatten. The Klein Nesthorn, that mountain above Blatten, where the top was crumbling on the glacier, and that led to the imminent glacier collapse with everything coming down at once. We still have a large amount of rock that is still broken away. It has broken away again. And you see it also on this post here from the Lötschental. You see where the arrow is, where it's crumbling, where the rocks are coming down, falling towards the valley. And this was just today, midday, a large amount of rocks was getting loose and was coming down. So they're constantly monitoring the Klein Nesthorn and its unstable rock formations that are still up there. We still have a total volume of several 100,000 cubic meters that continue to move at a speed of several decimeters per day. It's still coming. The Lötschental regional staff has reported that after an investigation. So we're seeing regular rockfalls from these unstable rock formations, as well as smaller debris flows in the area of the former glacier bed. And there was also a lake forming, but the whole glacier fell down. All that is continuing to be recorded. So far, it's not reaching the valley. At the moment, in the area below the former glacier tongue that has collapsed, it's basically above the upper Böchbach, that's a little stream. A slight increase in activity has been observed. They're saying that, quote, the area is under constant surveillance. We're trying our best. They're using various sensors to collect high resolution data from the landslide site, from that debris cone, because they're trying to predict the melting rate of the ice that is contained in this debris cone. They're saying that at the moment, their highest interest is to know how much glacier ice is in the debris cone. Where's the exact location? The University of Zurich said in a statement that this will determine, among other things, the location, the intensity, and the rate of the settlement of the compacting of this debris cone. But this will take time. This will take time. The problem is to predict the rate of the melting ice. It is particularly important to know whether it's covered with rock and debris or whether it's exposed. The ones that are exposed heat up more quickly in the sun and thus melt the underlying ice faster. And they need data to further calculate the volume and the volume changes of the debris cone. That will keep researchers busy for some time. But they have started carefully to do some cleanup, but only to prevent stability of this whole thing. And here comes the Lake Blatten thing. When I heard this description, it made me really emotional because it really describes how sad and how devastating, what a catastrophe of the millennia, how they call it, happened to Blatten. And now they said that the Swiss military has started to clean up, and they said the Swiss military has started clearing Lake Blatten. Lake Blatten. We all remember when that massive landslide came down. The Lonza River was clogged and it was quickly forming a lake that was drowning the last few homes from Blatten that weren't completely buried by that landslide, forming a lake that is quite resilient. It's still there. The Lonza has carved a way through that debris cone, but the homes are still submerged. And to call this now Lake Blatten, where your home was, not my home, but you know, if you feel as a resident, for me, it makes emotional. I don't know how to describe this, guys. Let me know what you feel. But this was once a village with life's history, homes that have been inherited over generations, Swiss culture, beautiful Swiss village. So they're clearing Lake Blatten, how they call it. And yeah, Blatten is a lake now. It's a debris cone and a lake. So the army is deployed with boats and a floating platform that they have placed on Lake Blatten. And the goal is basically to remove driftwood and debris to prevent that tiny outflow from the lake from clogging. And the debris that we're talking about is homes. Roofs have been lifted. They were floating around on the lake. I mean, most of the homes are not like wood homes. They're solid stone homes, lots of them, but lots of wood parts. And you see the roofs floating and interior of the homes and everything, because the river is pushing towards it from one side and underneath, flowing through the homes and then carving its way through the debris cone. And they're trying to recover personal belongings from the people that have lost their homes, everything they owned. Maybe they recover something. I have little hope that it will be substantial. Right now, around 20 soldiers are using pontoon boats, cable winches, and a floating platform, trying their best to clear up this newly formed lake in Blatten, Lake Blatten. And they're doing this. They don't want further flooding. They're hoping that they can get rid of this lake, but it will probably take a while because it was receding a little bit, then it was rising again. We have snow melt coming from the valley, a very steep valley, like further upstream. It's coming into the river, filling it up. And then, of course, there was heavy rainfall. It's summer. It rains a lot. There's thunderstorms. So that's filling up that lake. And for one major, General Erdrutsch, he says it's a particular emotional mission for him. He said that in an interview with the Swiss television. He said it's a mix of wood, windows, and furniture, and also very emotional things that are floating there. And it's emotionally taxing when we find personal items. We collect them and return them to the community so that they can be returned to their owners. But you know, this is almost 3 weeks ago. So whatever has been floating there is probably not in a very good condition. So of course, he says solidarity is important. He says we're all part of a big family, the Swiss family, whether we're military or whether we're former inhabitants of Lake Blatten. Can I say that? Sounds really, really strange. And this is not an easy task, guys. So a lot of technical skill is required to do so, and sensitivity as well. I don't know if the people that own these homes, if they go there and watch it, I personally, I don't know if I would. Maybe I would. I don't know. So he says, quote, "We work with a floating platform and a machine that takes the wood out of the water." And they're also using helicopters. And you see how the road is submerged by that lake. And then you see the debris cone. It's a complete new landscape, like foreign territory. So especially the pontoon boats, how they call them, they were flown in by how they call it, a Super Puma helicopter. And it's not easy to fly stuff like this through a mountain valley and then place it there. So you need very skilled pilots. And the army, the soldiers, they're supported by the civil defense and of course by the municipality, and they're trying to be very, very careful not to risk anyone's life. They're saying that safety is a top priority, and quote, the major says, "There's a system in place to ensure we stay in the safe zone in case rocks or other material from the mountain come falling again. That can still happen. It's a very unstable slope there. So plus we have the Lonsa River carving through that debris cone. That debris cone, by the way, is not settled. It's not compacted. We have a glacier that has collapsed, that has mixed with the mountaintop that fell on the glacier and then brought the glacier down. And basically all the rocks, they're acting like a cooler for this glacier material that's in this debris cone, and it's melting slowly. But that once something melts and water flows through, it's very, very unstable and chunks can break off. It's very unpredictable, super, super risky. So far, they're saying that the armor deployment is initially limited to June 26th, but that's only very few days left. I think they need them way longer. We will see what's going to happen. And of course, the question arises, rebuild in the same area? I've recently reported about the village of Brienz, what's going on there. They're probably giving up their village. It was spared by the first massive landslide. It looks impressive, but now the mountain's about to come down again and the village itself is cracking. You see cracks in the buildings and the streets, heating systems not working anymore. So now they're talking about abandoning the village and building it somewhere else. I think they have to do the same thing with Blatten. And what the officials are saying, and they're trying to be sensitive about this, they say for the reconstruction of Blatten, a new village, a village center needs identity. So the Lötschental Valley after this disaster is planning a new start. What they're saying is what the plan is right now, that 3 existing hamlets like small mountain settlements and parts of the old village center are to be developed into the new Blatten. I wonder which part of the old village center, the lake Blatten, because everything else is covered in a debris cone that's up to like 100-meter tall. So they just held a municipal meeting and they have presented this preliminary roadmap. And they're hoping, and that is quite ambitious, that the new village could be expected to be habitable in 3 to 5 years. So they're saying it won't be possible to build on this debris cone for years. So they do need new building sites. So they're bringing in geologists, engineers, making new hazard assessments. And they really, then they want to form a committee to see which site is suitable. And they really also need to reassess their evacuation zones because they measured the potential evacuation zone too small. That's why the shepherd was lost. He was outside the red zone, but the red zone was basically expanded by the collapse 1,000 feet. So quite substantial. And, you know, the major landslide that I have reported that happened in Bondo in 2017, they also wanted to rebuild, but many people have left that area. It's basically kind of like empty right now, but they were rebuilding some parts. The work has just now been completed 8 years later. So is 3 to 5 years really realistic when we see how many factors play a role and how big this disaster really is? Bondo was big, but this is bigger, in my opinion, in terms of that massive pile of debris, how it's spread out. So establishing a timeline is really, really difficult. They think that it's 320 million Swiss franken in damage. That's a lot. So I will keep you updated. If you want to know what happened in Blatten, I have a Blatten playlist. You can binge watch it. Start with the oldest video so that you really can see how the mountain peak cracks and how everything was coming down slowly until the glacier collapsed. And this end of days scenario of a landslide came down on Blatten, guys. So much has happened since then. So many more landslides. Hochvogel in Norway, in Switzerland, Brienz. I have reported about so much. Check out my playlist and the videos in the end screen. Stay safe, guys. Stay away from any potential landslide areas, please. See you soon. Bye-bye.